Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway, and today I've got a circuit of Super 4 track set up in the middle of the room, as you can see, because today I'm going to be doing sort of an informal review of the various versions that Triang did of the blue Pullman, as I hinted the other day. Now there's a reason for the Super 4 track, but I'll tell you that in just a second. But first, I told you the original plan was to upgrade this set of blue Pullmans, and that's the sort of middle set with the yellow ends but the regular blue Pullman coaches. And my original plan, if you remember, was to buy 3 coaches for that set, which would make a 5-piece set. But I soon decided that I would stick with a 4-piece set when it came to this and begin on another one of the sets. And as you can see, that one over there is the one with the yellow ends but with the grey windows, which is the 3rd version, I think. And obviously it's quite a difficult business collecting these sets because they are very, very popular, and you know, even the coaches alone are fetching about £30 at the moment, which is quite a lot. But I'm very pleased to say that I've managed to get, you know, 2 acceptable sets rather than 1 large set. I've also got quite a bit of the first version as well, which is just like this one here, but it's got the blue end, which is very nice. But I've only actually got the motorised car for that one, but I'm going to involve it in the review. And what the review is going to entail is it's going to be sort of a comparison. I'm going to start with that blue one, the first one, or at least what I think was the first one, then compare it with the second one and then with the third one. It's going to be quite informal, quite quick. I'm not going to go into a massive amount of detail because I realise they are, you know, essentially fairly similar, and I don't want to be too boring about it. But then what I will do is run them together and do a little running session. Now this version over here has actually got a bogie with the large flanged wheels in it, and you know, I'm not in a position to change those at the moment. So what I decided I'd do, for, you know, just for a bit of fun, I thought I'd rebuild my Super 4 loop. I've done a little bit of a funny shape with it, as you can see, because I did that, you know, about this time last year, and you know, people seem to enjoy it, so I thought I'd give that a go. And of course it's just nice to see some locos going around, a different bit of track other than the main layout. And of course this version here will be running on the main layout. Anyway then, let's start with a little bit of a comparison then, starting with the first version with the blue end, and then I'll work through them. Alright, hope you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so here's the first version then, which was released by Triang in 1964, and as you can see it is very, very attractive, but it does have the blue front, unlike the other two, and as I said earlier, this is not the one that we're going to be running today, because this is all I've got of it, and of course the other coaches match it and whatnot. But yeah, let's have a quick look at this one then. Very noticeably, the front, of course, while being blue, it's also got the blue Pullman logo or crest on it, as you can see there. This one's not in too bad a condition, but I don't think the others have that. That might be because they've worn off, or it might be because they never did have them. But either way, my yellow ones don't have that. But it's not a badly detailed little model, is it? I mean, of course you've got the cast motor bogie, which is normally cast, of course, so there's nothing special there. But you have got quite a lot of moulded detail. I mean, the grills are quite fine. You know, this is 1964, so it's really quite well done, isn't it, for the time? And the roof detail is quite cool as well. You know, there's all sorts of rivets. There's a good grill, which is separately painted, and of course the fact that the roof is a different colour, you know, painted silver, is quite nice. You know, it offers a little bit more realism, and of course the silver paint is quite metallic as well, which is obviously the look they were going for. The interior is very, very nice as well. As you can see, there's little cups and plates on the tables, something that even some of the Hornby Railroad Pullman coaches haven't done, and you know, they're, you know, 50 years later. But yeah, it really is very nicely done inside, isn't it? Not bad at all. So that's just a very brief look at the first version then. Hopefully you can see all the various features of that. No need to go into it in too much detail. But I will just say, here we are, we've got presumably the running number here, which is W60095, and of course the other printed detail is the Pullman, you know, the word Pullman on the side there, and of course the Pullman crest as well, in between a couple of them there. So yeah, a really, really nice version. Let's compare it then to the second version that came out slightly later in 1968. Okay, so here's the version that came out in 1968, and for the most part, apart from the livery, it is very, very much identical to the original version, with the exception of a couple of things. Of course, this one doesn't have the running number, which we pointed out last time, which is, you know, not a big deal really, but other than that, really, the roof detail, the way the windows are done, the doors, the moulding, everything is pretty much exactly the same. All the difference is then, it is just the front. And of course we haven't got the white paint around the windows, it's all entirely painted yellow in that area, except from the top, which is blue. But it does, you know, I don't know, it does still look quite elegant, but I must admit I do think the blue front is a little bit nicer than this. But of course that is just preference, and you might all have your different opinions on that. But also, probably worth pointing out, this blue is a little bit more sort of a greeny blue. I don't know if that's just the way this particular example has worn over time, you know, maybe the sun's done it or whatever. But if you notice, they are a very slightly different shade of blue. But I don't know if that's official or if that's just with my example, you know, but yeah. So yeah, hopefully you've had a little bit of a look at that one then. Again, it's pretty much the same thing, but, you know, the front is different. And of course the coaches which go with these two versions, which we'll see in a moment, are the same. But that isn't the case with the third version, which as far as I can tell came out in 1974, it says on Hornby Guide. I thought myself it was a little earlier than that, because of course there were Hornby Railways by then. But no, apparently 1974 is when they came out, but you know, it's probably worth taking that one with a pinch of salt. It might be right, who knows. Okay, the next version then, which is considerably different, 1974, here it is. Okay, so here's the third and final version then, released in 1974, and of course it does look radically different. But in fact, on close inspection, it is still identical in terms of the moulding. Again, it is just the way it's been painted that is radically different. And, you know, you have got all the same moulding. If you look, you know, this grille's still here. These are exactly the same. This window's still here, but it's been painted out, or painted grey. I don't know exactly if it's supposed to still be there or not. But I've just had a good comparison between this and the previous one, and they are very much the same. So, you know, it is just the livery then. So, of course, the biggest change here is the stripe, which is now no longer white, it's grey, and of course it isn't just framing these three windows, it frames the whole lot up until this grille here, which makes them look quite a lot different, and in my opinion a little bit more ugly, and in a lot of other people's opinion as well, actually. So that's a big difference. We haven't got the silver painted undercarriage here, this is all black now. The other two were in fact originally both silver, although one of mine was black. The blue one was, but originally they were both silver. Of course, around the front as well, it's very much done the same as the first yellow one that came out, although the shade of yellow is a lot more orangey, and again it makes it look a lot more modern and a lot more diesel-esque, rather than being quite elegant, but you know, so yeah, that's the third version. Very similar once again, but of course a radically different livery, as you can see there. Again, we haven't got any running numbers written on it, visible, but in fact you have got the Pullman logo or crest, which is just here now, in fact, rather than on the front or in between two of the windows. So yeah, that's quite an interesting difference. This set also came with a different coach, because this shade of blue is, you know, a lot sort of lighter blue, I suppose. So the coaches that go with this set, well, you can use them with the other set, and I find that the colour blue isn't too dissimilar. It is a little bit noticeable because the stripe goes all the way along the coaches. But let's have a quick look at the coaches now then, and I'll show you that, rather than trying to describe it without you looking at them. Alright, let's do that. Okay, so here's the first version of the coach, which would suit either the version of 1964 or 1968. As far as I can tell, they're exactly the same. But the difference comes, of course, when the 1974 version came out. And here's the coach. I'll introduce it quite slowly, and I'll try and get them both in the shot. I'll couple them together. As you can see, they are... Hang on. There you go. Can sort of about see those. Let's see. Yeah, they are exactly the same moulding, but as you can see here, you've got this grey, which again, same with the locomotives. The grey goes all the way along the coach, which of course is not the case on here, which is also white. The various crests are in different places. Of course, the crest is in the centre here, whereas the crest is, you know, in between the windows again there. And you know, there's various other differences, like these windows have been whited out. And of course the colour is different as well. So you could run them with the old sets, these slightly lighter blue ones, well, darker blue if you like, I suppose, but it won't look quite right, but you know, that's not such an issue. So yeah, that's the two coaches, that's the difference between them. I'll stop these teetering on here now, and yeah, let's get them running. So yeah, you'll have to let me know in the comments which of the three, if any, you think is the nicest. And we'll see if there's any general preference for one over the other or whatever. But as I was saying, here's version 2 out on the railway. As I said earlier, I haven't got version 1 complete, so I won't be running that today. But this is version 2, which is a 4-car set, as you can see, with 2 of the first version coaches. This one really runs very well, and I'll show you that just now. Let's do a little bit of slow, gentle running though to start with, just to see how she gets on. Let's apply a little bit of power. There we go. It's not a bad creep. And backwards before she goes out of shot. And of course she's coupled to all 3 other, pieces, so it's certainly not bad. She's got some torque. It's not just, weak, slow movement. There we go. And you'll hear in a moment, a little bit more at least, the great sound that these locos have got. Okay, right, let's give her some sensible speed then, and we'll get this one going. Give her a little bit of a run, let you watch her go round, and then we'll move on to the Super 4 track with version 3, and let you see that one in action. Okay, let's give her a little bit of power then, well, a little more power, get her off. Got a good quick speed today. She certainly looks pretty cool at a speed. It's not going too quick. But she certainly has got it in her to go at quite some speed. Perhaps I'll show you that in a little while. Right, I'm going to kick her up to full speed then, but if it gets silly and she looks as though she's about to derail, I will slow her down. But yeah, let's see how this works. A little more juice. Oh goodness. Wow. She's certainly got some power behind her. Yep, there she goes. I don't think it's quite so fast that she's going to derail, so I think we're quite safe at this speed, but you certainly wouldn't want it, much quicker. Right, let's bring her to a stop there then. Whoa, she's going a bit faster than I thought. But yeah, she looks pretty good, doesn't she, with a 4-car set. Of course, it might look better with, maybe 5 coaches or 4 or 5. But I'm very happy with that at the moment, and one day I might decide to increase the number, but for now I think that's certainly alright. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. Let's move on then to version 3, which has the grey stripes and the orange front, and we'll give her a little bit of a run round on the Super 4 track. And for anybody who's interested, this is what your model railway track might have looked like if you had a railway during the 1950s or 60s. As you can see, it's a lot clunkier. They've paid less attention to the real life scale and the various sizes and measurements, but this track is, honest to God, the most reliable track. I'm sure you could stand on it quite easily and not do any damage to it. And of course you don't see a lot of this track that is missing sleepers or damaged. As you can see, hardly any of my sleepers are missing. Yet modern track, you do see a lot of missing sleepers and various damage, and of course you see the exact same thing with the locomotives. Trying locos, it's very hard to break them. Modern locos, not so much. But yeah, I thought that'd be just quite interesting to see the track. Of course, it's all held together, not just by the fish plates, but by a couple of clips as well, which keeps them together quite well as it happens. But of course this is first radius curves, so if you did decide to buy some of this track, be aware that most modern locos at least will derail very easily on it, and if not, they probably just won't run on it at all. But let's go and look at the locomotive and its coaches then. Okay, so there she is then, version 3 with the orange front and the grey stripes. I don't personally think she looks too bad. She does look quite smart. She's not beautiful like the first or second versions could be considered, but she certainly doesn't look bad at all. So let's give her a little bit of power then. I will just say this track isn't as good as modern track in terms of conductivity. It is very, very easily blemished, and gets on it pretty easily, and it doesn't tend to conduct too well. I have been over this with the track rubber, but for whatever reason, without going over it with a fine tooth comb, which I don't really want to do because I only use it once a year or so, it is a little bit rickety, especially the further you go from the power lines. So just excuse that. I'm going to have to give her a fair bit of speed, just so that she will get around the circuit, but either way, we'll give it a try and see what happens. So I'm just going to go over to the controls then and give her a little bit of juice and try and do a little bit of slow running just to see how she gets on. That's forwards, and of course slow running isn't really a thing. I'll show you the controller that I'm using in a second actually, but yeah, let's start her off then, let's get her going. And here's the controller that I'm using. It's got set speed settings, so it's not really too analog. It's sort of 1 speed, 2 speed, 3 speed and 4 speed, and the same in reverse. Yeah, it's very reliable, and I use it up here on the bench, and I've got it connected with crocodile clips at the moment. But yeah, it's quite good, it's quite reliable. You can short it out and it won't break it, so good enough for me. Right, let's go and look at the loco then. She does slow down there though, doesn't she? But she's certainly not bad, she looks the part, and I do enjoy getting this triang set out. And actually she doesn't look bad at all, does she, as a 3-coach set? I think that's quite a nice look. Yeah, not bad. I'll get the other one running then, and we'll see if I can get them in the same shot at the same time. That should be good fun, let's give that a go. There we go. Of course I would try and run this on modern track, but it's not a very pleasant experience. Sort of a bit jittery, but yeah, not too bad at all. Hope you've enjoyed it anyway. That was a bit of fun, bit more informal, bit of casual running. Hope you enjoyed seeing it. If you did, of course, you can check out the Facebook page and the Twitter page, which are facebook.com/samstrains and twitter.com/samstrains. I quite often share various pictures and posts on there, so if you like all this sort of thing, you'd like to see some more, you can go and check that out, and it'd be great to have your company on there, of course. But for now, I think I've said all I can about these. Do let me know in the comments which of the 3 you prefer, if any, and we'll see if there's any dominant views on that, and see if we do all hate the grey version, or if some of you do in fact quite like it. So that's all from me today then. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers everybody.